And Srivatsan, I think specifically, I think a lot of fintech founders out there would be really interested, right? If you go back to the really early, I don't know, 50, 100, first 50, 100 customers, specifically in the point of driving trust, right? Which is very important, especially in the space that you are in. What were those one or two things that you now in hindsight feel worked? And was it referenceable customers? Was it established banking partnerships, right? Because I'm sure that was the biggest question that people would have had.
Yeah, yeah. All of these founders doing the talking was one. Our own, like we used to write very shamelessly, IIT Delhi and ISB and all of these credentials, so that people feel like, okay, having studied so much and quitting jobs that must have paid them well, these guys must not be wasting time, so it must be something meaningful. In fact, we even our first business cards also had our academic qualifications so that people in big banks would actually let us enter the building. Right, so I think personal credibility, we put all our personal credibility at the at the service of the business. Secondly, the brands that we partnered with, right from the fund that the funds that actually invested in us in the beginning, to the bank partners that we were able to get, and a few early advisors that we actually spent reasonable amount of equity in the company to actually get them on board, so that we put our money where our mouth is, and got some credibility from them, as well as some very good early direction, warm connections in the ecosystem and so on. So I think, yeah, it's been just a combination of these things, and genuinely being there. Like I think up until 1,000 or 1,200 customers, which is quite a huge number to manage, we were personally on WhatsApp groups with all the customers. In fact, every day, even now, I still keep seeing some messages from some of our early customers on those WhatsApp groups, asking for some feature, or giving a positive feedback, or a improvement feedback or something like that. So all of this helped.
I would add one more thing, which I think, at least for me, is something I learned in hindsight, that having people and being ready to do sales and not just marketing, I think is also something that worked in building the trust. Because even if it is not an IITian, even if it is not me or Srivatsan on the Zoom call, but it is one of the frontline salespeople that is talking to the customer. I think just having a human being who is smart, presentable, can talk sense, can listen, can understand the customer's pain, and is able to suggest some solutions and have a good conversation. I think that also builds a lot of trust. So after the first 200 odd customers, when we had a sales team in place, I could see that a lot of those customers were actually able to trust these human beings. And if we had not had a team in place, and we would have expected to grow in a product-led growth way at that point. I mean, today more than half of our growth is product-led, but at that point, if we had burdened ourselves with it and tried to prove to everybody that we are doing this fancy PLG thing, I think it may not have worked, and we would not have been able to build the same kind of trust.
And that actually really resonates, right? I think the both of you are mentioning that high touch point with the customer. And now I'm kind of looking back, that would have been such a big difference from the way they were experiencing the relationship with the banks, I'm sure, right? And I mean, we all know, right? The life of an average Indian exporter is fairly hard on multiple fronts. And sometimes I think having that kind of almost like a trusted person that can listen to you, right? And I think when you use the right word, right, like help you problem solve, I think that can be a big differentiator.
Absolutely. And I think the other adage that even comes from, I think, the Airbnb founder and that group is do things that don't scale. I think for us, the sales motion is something that we knew will not eventually scale. We cannot be devoting sales effort on every customer, because we are serving very small businesses. At least that was the case 1 year back. So the CAC and LTV is not going to work out if we keep doing this. But at the same time, we just felt that at that point, it was not something to think about, and we can figure out scalability eventually. But at that point, building trust was important, and over time, trust will compound. And we have started seeing that happening. I think we are a much bigger brand now than we were, 2 years back. And it is much easier to convince customers because they've heard our name from multiple people. There's enough presence on the internet. There's enough, news that has been written about us, and so on. And we've got an RBI authorization, and so on. So I think because of all this, it is much easier to now build that trust because there are so many secondary sources. We have ISO and SOC 2 and a few other such certifications. So customers are actually finding it much easier to trust us now, which is also leading to more product-led conversion compared to earlier. So I think that also helped, just not being nervous about scalability initially and saying, let's do it for now and let's figure it out later how to scale helped.